Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We're back with another In Context. Today is July 11th, 2026. We had an MOU. I use the word past tense because it seems like it's fallen apart. But the MOU was already designed vague. And that vagueness now is showing its face because now Iran is doing this and America is doing this. And I'd like to discuss current events, the last 2 weeks in particular, because a lot has happened. I think we should start with the three ships that were struck by Iran. I think that was the catalyst for all these new events. Agree?
Yes. Okay. So the source of the current quote unquote disagreement or brouhaha is a vague article in the Memorandum of Understanding. It says that Iran is going to administer the process of passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran interprets this that we control the Strait of Hormuz. The US interprets this as it means nothing and we're going to go and do whatever we feel like doing. And as a result, as we probably mentioned in the previous week, the US has been trying to organize parallel processes to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. There was a process organized by a UN agency, the International Maritime Organization, to pass the ships that have been stuck inside the Gulf back to their ports. Then the US came in and established its own process to pass whatever ships it feels like through Omani waters. The IMO process was either through Omani waters or Iranian waters. Iran didn't like that, so 2 weeks ago they went and bombed a ship that was passing through the Omani waters. For those who don't know the geography, the strait is rather wide. And right now, the open passage routes, one that hugs the Omani coast, it is to the south and west, and one that is closer but wider, closer to the Iranian coast, that is to the north and east. Anyway, so Iran went and bombed the ship in the Omani route, and the IMO right away came out and said, this was not arranged by us. We have nothing to do with it because it was part of the American process. And the American process is meant essentially to claim that, well, by force of cheating and subterfuge, that the clause means nothing. We do whatever we feel like doing. And then the IMO said, and we're shutting down the process and nobody's passing. The IMO decided that it doesn't want to be part of the game or a cover for the American game. Now, US media makes sure that nobody understands that. But if you go and read carefully and if you understand what you are reading, you will see it. It's there in black and white. Anyway, like the Propaganda Times, formerly known as the New York Times, makes sure that nobody understands that. The next round was last weekend. So earlier on the weekend, Iran warned the ships that have started using the Omani route that if you keep doing this, we're going to bomb you. As a result, the Western and Asian shipping that was using the route stopped doing it. Some of them actually switched to the Iranian route. Others took a wait and see approach. Then the US marshaled its kids in the Gulf to bring their tankers through the Omani route that was completely trafficless at that night.
In other
And
words, the United States bent the arm of their kids, as you say, Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth, and
yeah,
told them, "We're going to use you to demonstrate that this is a safe
that the
route."
route is open. Now, to their population, they lie and say, well, actually, we have a vested interest in making sure that the strait is open. Now, what is the vested interest in burning down an oil tanker? I'm not sure. Anyway, so on comes a Qatari gas tanker, a Saudi crude tanker, and Abu Dhabi, this is not Dubai, Abu Dhabi, liquefied petroleum gas tanker, and Iran bombs all three of them, bombs them seriously. Usually they bomb ships in a disabling way rather than destroying way, but these were bombed seriously to the point where they had to abandon two of them. And then Trump comes out and says, and the ceasefire is over and I'm going to bomb the daylights out of them. And he starts bombing Iran over 2 nights. And Iran responds as usual by bombing Bahrain and Kuwait. And then on the second night, they bomb also Jordan for good measure, the American bases in these countries. The media would have you believe that the memorandum of understanding is up in smoke and nothing is happening. Trump would have you believe that actually Iran is pleading with him to stop bombing it. And he has managed to bring them to a heel and they are willing to open the state and do whatever he wants. Neither is true. Actually, there is a calibrated act of negotiation through bombs going on. So first, the US is bombing the same places again and again in southern Iran. Some communication towers have been bombed more than once. Same place. So it's essentially turning to a messaging system, performative art. Iran also is bombing the same military bases again and again. Some of these pass, some of these are shot down, but that's beside the point. It's the same bases again. The US, what tells you that this is calibrated is the US actually came out explicitly today and said, we banned Israel from joining this. Israel wants to join, and we banned them because we want to maintain control over this, because we're just pretending to go to war. We don't want to go back to war. We just want to pretend to go to war. Trump wants to pretend that he is not negotiating. He is forcing Iran to do what he wants. To tell you that also on the other side, on the Iranian side, this is also calibrated. There was a couple of acts that were outside the calibration level. Trump, out of spite, in the second night of bombing, went and bombed railway stations that were on the route from Tehran to Mashhad, where the funeral was going on. So Iran came back and saying, well, this is beyond the calibrated levels. You are bombing infrastructure now. If that happens again, this is yesterday. If that, they came out as saying that if that happens again, we're bombing Israel, meaning they are making a distinction between bombing American bases in the inferior second-class colonies as opposed to the beloved colony in Israel. And they are calibrating by saying, well, there are limits to where we would accept the messaging through bombs. And if you exceed these limits, then we're also going to exceed the limits and extend the escalation. So what we're seeing is negotiations through bombs. Now, where would these negotiations go? Well, I don't think Trump has much road to go. Meaning, he is negotiating right now and pretending that he is about to go to war. And the question is, well, what would going to war buy him? He is negotiating because going to war didn't get him what he wants. So it's not a very good take for the dominant power in the world that it's flailing. And it's a very good news for humanity.
I agree. It's chaotic. It doesn't, I don't know.
It's not chaotic. It's meant to look chaotic.
Yes, that's it.
It's meant to look like the US is practicing its unfettered right to kill and maim and destroy whatever it wants. The truth is, this is calibrated, and this is messaging back and forth. And Trump is trying to push the Iranians to accept by force and by denying them the benefits that he gave them of allowing them to sell oil for dollars. He's trying to negotiate down what he agreed already in the memorandum of understanding, which is Iran controls Hormuz. This is never going to happen because the Iranian government calculates that this is necessary for our existence. This is the only card we hold that is safe. This guy has no word. The US is established now that it has absolutely zero value for whatever it says. So whatever it says or whatever it signs has exactly zero value. And the only thing you can do to do any business with it is make sure that you have a card whenever they go back on their word that you can use against them. And they say, okay, we found it. That's great. We're not ever going to leave it.
At what point does the US admit this? Not admit it, just concede to it.
I think Trump figures that he has to do it eventually, but he is working his way towards it by trying to obscure the fact that he's working his way towards it. His problem is not, I don't think his problem is giving in. His problem is appearing to give in. It's a lot of performative art. So what he wants is this is going to be a tactical defeat for the US, and he doesn't want it to look like a defeat. He wants to look like a victory that he vanquished Iran, and he's trying to calibrate it and bring it out in a way that looks like that. The Iranian may be willing actually to give him that, because what they want in the end is this car to protect the existence of the state.
Makes sense.
But they are willing to give him the appearance, not the truth, of getting what he wants. You see them hitting and not claiming that he hit. For example, the tankers, they initially didn't say that they hit them. Or this calibration of we are not going to escalate towards Israel, and we're going to threaten it so that we can control and contain the escalation, because they are, as much as Trump, not interested in escalation. They are interested in getting what they want.
So the shallow, naive conspiracy theory videos that have popped up on YouTube in the last week that allude that Netanyahu convinced Trump to go back to war.
Well, actually, the official U.S. statements today to the media is Israel has been saying for the last few days, we want to go back to attack Iran. Netanyahu actually went yesterday and said the war with Iran is not over. And the Israeli army, the criminals of the Israeli army keep saying, we're ready to attack, we want to attack. And the U.S. is telling them, no, you don't. In fact, as the U.S. is attacking Iran, it's drawing down its forces in its bases in Israel. So they have been transferring their planes out of Israel back to England, and I assume also the US. As this fighting is going on, which is not the posture of someone who is about to go into active war. The conspiracy theorists are, overburdened with trying to prove an impression rather than understanding things as they are. Just look at the events as they are.
All right, one more question. Any updates on the Lebanon situation?
It's a corollary of what's happening in the Gulf. So the memorandum also says that there will be no war in Lebanon, and the war is continuing in Lebanon. And that's, again, the US and Israel negotiating through cheating. So we say one thing and we do the opposite. Trump has been making noises that, well, Israel is going to withdraw from Lebanon. And the response from Israel is, we didn't ask anyone to get in. We're not going to ask permission to stay in. We're not leaving. In fact, Netanyahu went berserk yesterday and said, well, Israel has a right to security zones on its borders. This is really a scary statement, because border doesn't mean only the existing Lebanon and Syria occupation of border areas. It also means Jordan and Egypt. That's really scary. Of course, the Arab Zionist Team A of the English King of Jordan has no problem whatsoever with this. And Team B of Sisi et al. Also have no problem with this, apparently. That essentially Israel is saying, well, we're chewing on these bits now, and eventually once we digest them, we're coming back to you guys. Just wait for us. It's really pathetic. Just a small gang of thieves, wreaking havoc all over the place because these Arab Zionists are just waiting for them to do it in sequence, or actually actively engaging with them in doing it. Like Jordan is actively engaging with them in doing it. UAE is actively engaging with them. That's the difference between Team A and Team B. Team A thinks that the Israel is a protector. Team B thinks Israel is an ally. Actually, Israel is talking about taking away stuff from their estates, which is completely pathetic.
Yeah, it is pathetic.
One last point on my observation: the way the potentates in the Gulf are behaving beguiles imagination. So what they claim to the population plagued by their greed and impotence is, we have to do this because we have to get the US help to open up the Strait of Hormuz again, because otherwise Iran will choke us. That is complete nonsense, because the Strait of Hormuz is not going out of Iran's control for the foreseeable future. And they know that. Okay? So while, for example, Qatar states that we want the Strait of Hormuz to open again, they are actually carrying water for Trump. And while Trump is declaring that he is going to launch war on Iran and Iran is begging him, Trump is sending them to Tehran to negotiate on his behalf. So they know that this is nonsense. Europe actually is moving towards accepting Iran control over Hormuz. And they are now negotiating the specifics of how this is going to be done. And what Oman is doing when it appears to be going along with Iran is negotiating on Europe's behalf. Oman is just an office for the English Foreign Affairs Office, an extension of the Foreign Affairs Office. Anyway, and you don't need to guess at it. This is official, meaning a few months ago, it came out that when Oman was quote unquote mediating between the US and Iran before the war started, in the back office was an English diplomat sitting running the show. That was in the news, black and white. Anyway, back to what I'm saying. So they realized that this is not going to happen. And it has, if you don't care about right and wrong, you don't care about halal and haram, and you think in politics in the Machiavellian sense, this makes perfect Machiavellian sense. So the Gulf states brought in US bases to counterbalance Iran in the 90s. Some of them were forced to accept it. Some of them willingly invited the US to come in and build bases on their own, at their own cost. Beside that, that was a balancing act. And the idea was, well, don't attack us because we have a big guy to protect us. But when they went and allowed the US to use these bases to attack Iran, that changed the calculus. Because now these bases were not a safety check. These bases now were a threat to Iran. And Iran, just Machiavellian politics, has to find something to balance this. And what balances this is the control over the Strait of Hormuz. So they lost any expectation to free access to the Strait of Hormuz as soon as they allowed the US to use the bases they built to attack Iran. That's plain Machiavellian hard politics. And they know that. Now, the question is, why would these ineffective, stupid potentates help the US play its games in Hormuz? Actually, it is to their advantage that Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz right now, because that can allow them to turn around to the US and tell them, well, you need to remove these bases because A, you can't protect them. B, you can't protect us from attacks as a result of their existence. C, you need to remove them because if you don't remove them, Iran won't let us export oil. And if Iran doesn't let us export oil, you're going to be harmed because you won't get oil. So that actually takes them out of the line of fire. So if these stupid fools, they're not fools, stupid traitors, if these stupid traitors just care about keeping, taking care of their estates, they look at the place as just an estate of the family. Just look at that artifact in Kuwait. Mish'al, he thinks of the place as the family's estate and the people as the family's slaves, and those he doesn't like, he just takes away their citizenship. 1/5 of the population was taken. He took the citizenship out 1/5 of the population because, well, I feel like it. Anyway, they're not taking care of their estates. The estate is on fire. And they have an opportunity actually of taking it out of the line of fire, and they're not taking it. This is beyond treason. It's utter stupidity. We are plagued by very stupid traitors. The only thing they are good at is theft and killing and bringing misery.
I think we got it.
Jazakallah khair.